Welcome to the Cedric Live Show. Now I'm going to do something because the director asked me to do it. He asked me to breathe. I don't know what he thinks I was doing before, but I'm breathing. Anyway, the entertainment industry in Uganda has grown from the 2000s up to where it is today. I don't know how we're going to qualitatively or quantitatively analyze this business, but it has grown and it has provided a lot of, I would say, entertainment for us. But today, with me on the Cedric Live Show is one of the entertainment icons of Uganda. Her name is Crystal. Actually, most of you know her by Crystal. Her full name is Crystal Newman. She'll be joining us on the show this afternoon. Why did I add the afternoon? Welcome to the Cedric Live Show. On the show today, we have none other than entertainment icon Crystal. Crystal, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And it's nice to have you. You know, it's as you were laughing at me because now the roles are reversed. A couple of years ago, you interviewed me on one of your shows.
Yes.
I think it was Celeb Select.
Yes, I was at Sanyu FM at the time.
Yeah, I was very flattered that first of all you considered me a celebrity. But anyway, now it's my turn. So Crystal, tell me a little bit. Today we're going to speak entertainment.
Yeah.
We're going to speak about the industry. We're going to speak about a few different things. So tell me a little bit about your childhood, and, how you grew up, and of course we were talking a little bit earlier about growing up. But tell me a little bit about your childhood.
Well, my childhood was not in Uganda till about the age, I think, of 10.
Yes.
My father was a pilot. He's retired now.
Yes.
And
I know another pilot. So
yes, exactly.
Yes.
Our fathers, and they know each other from way back. But yeah, so I didn't grow up in Uganda, and then eventually we did come back to Uganda. So I tend to focus on my time here. I went to Buganda Road Primary School, Makerere College School, Makerere University. Okay. I was a tomboy, a massive tomboy. Even now with my own kids, I'm like thrusting them up into the trees. I'm like, climb trees, get me that guava, look for mangoes. And I used to do so many sports as well. Yeah. I think I was an entertainer from even back in the day because one of my first awards on stage was Best Choreographer. And that was in S1. And I choreographed. Best
choreographer? Like dancing choreographer? Or?
Yes, for a dance routine. And I had people in the group from all different classes.
Yes.
And then I used to win awards for high jump, long jump, shot put, javelin, 100-meter sprint, 200-meter sprint. So.
And you're still running?
I do run.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as it used to be.
I'm not talking about it on the field, but in your career, you're still moving quite fast and things like that.
Yes.
So tell me, what was your first engagement with the entertainment industry? You talked about your S1 choreography and stuff, but that was more in school. How did you get into the entertainment industry?
Okay.
Where was your first gig or whatever it may be?
My first gig was really, I think I'd like to say Sanyu, but even when I was in school, when we used to have all these magazines or interviews that would come in for New Vision or Straight Talk magazine, somehow I was always one of the children who was picked and I'd do these interviews. I remember we had a dance routine. It was a belly dance routine for a Commonwealth group.
Do you have a video of that?
No.
You're lucky. Because of social media, you're lucky.
I know.
Because somebody would have pulled that up.
Because we were wearing the whole outfits and everything, and somehow I was picked to do that. And I remember at the time it was a conference center, which is now Serena. So somehow I'd always find ways of, being here or there. But my first time on Sanyu, I was invited with a group of my friends. Yes. So we knew some of the presenters. Yes. And we went on and pretended to be a girl group. We put on accents and just had fun. And then I was called back for a voice test.
You've done so many things in the business. I mean, of course, you've been a radio personality at Sanyu, and you recently moved on.
Yes.
How long were you at Sanyu?
18 years.
My goodness gracious.
That's a grown adult.
I think some of the guys here were doing other things, like, looking for nappies and things like that when you started at Sanyu. Then you became Mrs. Uganda.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me a bit about Mrs. Uganda. Because when I saw it, I didn't know Mrs. World existed. you know.
Before I was approached
Yes.
to compete, I actually had no clue, just like you, that
Yes.
there was a Mrs. World contest.
Yes.
I was like, no, I know Miss World, I know Miss Universe, but do you mean Mrs. World?
Yes.
And then I'm a curvy woman.
Yes.
So I was like,
I can't look.
Oh, yes.
I'm just going to
But
look in the sky.
I have acknowledged it myself. So I'm a
Yes.
curvy woman, and I'm like, I am not the dimensions of Miss World or Miss Universe.
Yes.
But they explained to me it was a competition for women of all ages, all the way from 18 till, I think the oldest contestant the year I competed for Mrs. World was about 62 or 63. So it was just about women, different walks of life, and the different causes we have, different passions we have, and the fact that women of all ages can still be strong and
Yes.
stand up and represent the gender. So when I was approached, I was like, I don't know. I'd never been a beauty queen ever. I had done modeling. I had, just tried to do
Yes,
danced on
bit of-
stage, mimed on stage. But I was like, I don't know.
Now, in relation to that particular topic, this wasn't even in my lineup of questions. It reminded me of this recent thing that we've seen in Uganda
Okay.
with Miss Curvy. Now, my interpretation of it was there is nothing wrong with the event. Maybe there was an issue with how they labeled it,
Yes.
and an issue with how they marketed it. But there's nothing wrong with plus size. I've seen them all over the world, not that I watch. No, anyways, listen, we'll talk about that another time. But so I'm just saying that when you first saw it, what was your immediate, reaction to it?
When I first saw it, I was like, what's the fuss?
Yes.
Like a lot of other people, I'm like, this is not new. There are other parts of the world where they have competitions to celebrate
Yes.
women who are voluptuous or
Yes.
curvaceous. I agree with you totally. It's how it was sold. It was
Yes.
a few words that were just so wrong.
It almost seemed like it was an objectifying sort of like, it came across as that, you land in Entebbe, you go to a kiosk, you put in a little bit of money, and out comes a plus size person.
Exactly.
And I think
Objectification was the biggest
Yes,
issue.
I
It was
think-
how it was sold.
Yeah.
It was someone talking about his country, trying to be passionate about his country, but using the wrong words.
Correct.
And that just set it off. We have to be very careful in entertainment, how you package things, how you communicate, because at the end of the day, that's what we do. We're communicators.
Yes.
So they messed up on that front.
And of course, you've gone on to be an MC extraordinaire. I've seen you at conventions, Ugandan conventions. I've seen you at some of the big events. I think you did Friends with Benefits.
Yes, I
with,
did.
With Gaetano.
Yes, I hosted
and,
that.
I've seen you do all this. So you're quite busy.
Yes.
So we're going to cut to break, and when we come back, we'll talk about a few of these things.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm still here with Crystal, one of the icons of entertainment in Uganda. Crystal, it's always great to have you. And I think we were talking about your MCing. You do a lot of MCing, and I think we're talking about what you did with Friends with Benefits with Gaetano. I think that's some of the cooler things that corporates can do to sort of, I would say, show their brand, by using the likes of yourself, the likes of Gaetano, to make us understand. Because there's no way I would have read that anywhere. I think now there's one of Philip Luswata up on a billboard with him in jail if you don't pay your benefits. And I said, let me just check, because, but it was only because of Philip that I checked.
So then the power of personalities is
if it was just something on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, corporate Uganda needs to embrace.
Yeah, but also like what I said earlier on, we are communicators, we're trained, we're professional,
Yes.
we know how to do that very well. So
Yes.
sometimes that's where the gap is, to have someone, translate that message to the average person to make sure there's no misunderstanding and they know exactly what is being said to them. So I think that's a gift or a talent that we all have to hone, especially in entertainment.
Yeah, and I think that, if you look at case studies, look at Beats by Dre. That whole concept of Beats by Dre was celebrity endorsement, from athletes to entertainers to I think one of the biggest shareholders, or one of the minority shareholders, sorry, was LeBron James. You know, and him by himself, you know, he grew this thing that every athlete in the world had it in their respective colors.
Yeah,
you
but
know?
then I guess the trick is always to make sure you find the right personality also to
Correct.
match.
Now, you also have your own talk show.
Yes, I do.
Yeah?
Yes.
So tell me about a bit about your show. What it's called, where it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a YouTube channel,
Yes.
Crystal Newman. My
Yes.
show is called Crystal One-on-One.
Okay.
Yes, and I speak to all kinds of personalities.
Have you guys heard this? You have to go to Crystal's YouTube page, follow One-on-One, subscribe, and listen to what she has to say.
Yes.
Sorry for
and hit the
interrupting
bell
you.
for the notifications because people say I've subscribed, but anyway.
I don't even think I've hit the bell on my own page. But anyways, now I know.
Yes,
Okay.
you hit the bell, then you get the notifications. But it's just conversations with people from different walks of life.
Yes.
I started out by doing Celeb Select on radio.
Right.
And then I continued on doing Crystal One-on-One because one of the things about society is we are so judgmental. I've always felt it, and I've always tried to be as open-minded as possible. And the more I speak to people, the more I realize, I mean, there's just so much you don't know. You never understand people's motivation. You never understand the story behind the story. We like to jump on things and
Yes.
make a lot of noise and say, how could this person do this? How could that happen? But who is this person? What made them do whatever it is they're doing?
Yes.
So along the way, I've listened to so many different people, and I have learned from so many of my guests. I think that for me is the biggest gift. With every person coming on the show, they share so much. And there's something you can see, you know, mirrored in these different people I talk to. So they're not only celebrities, just people who are celebrated in different walks of life.
You know, that's very interesting. You know, I was having a conversation with somebody about something very similar. Why people do certain things.
Yeah.
You know, and when you lean on your own understanding, you come up with the wrong interpretation.
Yes.
Case in point, I was discussing the story of R. Kelly. Now, of course, as you read the story, I mean, it's terrible what he did to
Everyone has
the young
labeled
ladies.
him a monster.
Yes, he turned into a monster, and you know, God help those young ladies that whatever happened to them. But then, of course, I started to read behind the person, and one of the things that came up was that he, as a child, was abused, and this came from his own brother, who was also abused.
Yeah.
And of course, you know, this guy with this beautiful gift, he can sing. That was his exit. But one thing that bothered me the most, all these people over the years who made money off him, because he was caught when he was in his 50s. That means between 17
Yeah, and this is
and
not
50,
a new thing.
it's not a new thing.
I mean, if we go back to Aaliyah, it is not a
Yeah,
new thing.
so why did they let him carry on? They
Because
could
we're
have stopped.
vouchers,
Yes,
Cedric.
because
we
they
are
look-
vouchers.
yes.
Of people were making money off of him.
Yeah, so
He was this huge money-making scheme. So all the people around him who wanted to earn from him would protect him and do everything in their power to give him what he needed to feed his talent.
because they should be punished just like him.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
if you go
yes.
back through time, I mean, you know, you can't take away what he did, you know, but something is wrong. That somebody has to do that for 40 years,
Yes.
right? And destroy so many people's lives. But there were people who were guiding him along the way.
Yes, yes.
And I think shows like yours, maybe even shows like this, are ways where people can, I suppose,
Get to know a bit more.
you know, why do people do certain things?
Yes,
How do things end up a certain way?
Because it's a better understanding of us as human beings in general. We
Yeah.
all have different motivations. Even when you're working with people, to bring out the best in them, you have to understand what their different quirks are.
Yes.
Because for some people it might be money, for other people it might be position, for other people it might be benefits. But to bring out the best in a person, you have to understand who they are to begin with. So,
But you know, as they say, with age comes wisdom. You know, and you know, now, you know, when certain things happen or people do certain things, you know, you sort of sit back and you look at them and you say,
Exactly.
why did they do this? And then you realize if you look deep enough, you will find the reason.
yeah.
So when we come back from the break, we're going to talk about the impact of social media.
No.
Not just on us, but in Uganda. Globally, I don't know, but we'll stick with Uganda for today.
All right.
We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm still here with Crystal. We were just talking about her talk show, One-on-One with Crystal. And Crystal
One-on-One.
Crystal One-on-One. So make sure you subscribe to her channel and watch it. Now, Crystal, I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
You know, this social media.
Ooh, the beast.
The beast. This thing is growing and it's getting crazier and crazier every day.
It's swallowing people, chewing them up and spitting them out in
yes,
pieces.
Yes. It's but of course, you know, like everything, it has its good side.
Oh yeah.
It has its sort of in between and its really bad side. What's your interpretation of social media in Uganda?
Well, I think the beauty of social media is it's brought the world closer together.
Right.
So if anything, as Ugandans, it's a platform that is, you know, taking us to the world, where we can actually really showcase who we are.
Yeah.
You know, what we're about, what our culture is, all these different things.
Yes.
So I love that about social media, because it's a platform that is open to anyone. Anyone.
But, you know, I've seen it. You know, now it's starting to creep into politics. It's starting to creep into families.
Yeah.
You know, I see people out there, you know, talking about their personal business, especially the aggrieved people who feel they've been hurt. And then it's starting to affect the way people think, which for me is where
where the issue is.
It's not going to say an issue. It's like, I'm not really sure. Because people seem to be validated. They validate themselves by...
Based off of people following them,
Yes.
the likes and...
A friend of mine, a grown man, said to me, I have more followers than you. I'm like, but chief, you know, I mean, at least if you told me a farm or you have more cows or you have more...
Exactly. People look at social media, following,
Yes.
likes as a currency.
Yes.
But you see, there are only a few people who are smart enough to actually use it as a currency and earn from it.
Yes.
I think social media is a beautiful thing because they're people who can push a cause.
Yeah.
You know, you can reach people who would ordinarily be out of reach, you know, through it. And you can actually build something in a much quicker time if you're focused.
Yes.
But then I think we're influenced, as much as I'm saying it's a platform where we can sell Uganda to the world and who we are, we are so grossly influenced by what we see other people, other cultures doing, that we lose sense of who we are. And that divide where you know what is appropriate, what is inappropriate, is where it's really gray. It's a gray area. Because the way I feel about it, I mean, if you want to be like a Kardashian, okay, you have to remember that the Kardashians have a business. They have people. They are a business. So they do a lot of the things that they do, posting naked pictures, because there's a business angle to it.
Yeah, they make millions out of it.
Exactly. But then here you are in Uganda, you think, yay, I've got this nice phone, I'm going to do the same thing, and you're not earning from it. So that's a problem. You need to have a purpose, you need to have intention, you need to have a plan. People just post anyhow.
I think the important thing you're alluding to here is the plan. You know, you've got to have a plan. You know, you can't just... how you package yourself on social media. What's your favorite platform?
My favorite platform? That's interesting. I'd say Instagram, actually.
Instagram?
Instagram.
Interesting.
I think because as human beings, we are really, really visual.
Yes.
I mean, I do love Twitter as well, but I do like the visual element of Instagram.
I think Twitter would be my favorite one, simply because it limits the amount of insult you can have, because I think there are only 140 characters. So somebody can only
But now
abuse...
you can have a thread, so you can just keep adding on.
No, you see, if they abuse you, you block the first one, so there's no thread. So what you do is when you get abused in 140 characters, it's okay.
I
but
think
Facebook...
that is my issue with Twitter, because I think people are so quick to just fight and jump, and I'm not here for tweets.
They're called tweets.
Tweets, yeah.
I mean, you say that there is a way to make a living from social media.
Yes, there are people
But
who are
tell
doing
me, do you really think, you know, there are a few exceptions to the case, yourself, Marcus, Gaetano, Flavia, and some of the other people in the entertainment space, Salvador, Anne Kansime.
Tina,
even
the young and upcoming ones.
Yes, but honestly, do you think that people can make a living in the entertainment industry in Uganda?
Yes, I think so. I think you just have to be incredibly smart.
Yes.
And in terms of entertainment, you have to bring your passions and your interests into what you do. I'm a perfect example. My love for food has actually spilled over into my social media.
Yes.
I have a show called Crystal's Bites, just where I share the food that I eat, what I cook at home, and I've actually been able to earn from that based off of my love of food and cooking.
Crystal Bites.
Yeah,
Crystal's
Bites.
That's a different show.
This is a different show, Crystal's Bites, and it's online as well.
So you be doing your Crystal one-on-one, then you
Yes.
finish that, then you go home and you cook and you do another show.
Well, sometimes. I had one season. I've been pretty busy.
Yes.
But yes, I'll be doing a second season soon. But just doing episodes at home, because that's the thing, the convenience of being able to do that. But it came from my passion of cooking and food, and that fed into what I'm doing. So if people think just for entertainment's sake that you're going to make it work, you have to have other things. You have to work behind the scenes to feed into it. So
it's not just smoke screens. Now, I have a question for you. And this is a question that we're going to have to split in two, but I'll tell you when we cut to commercial. Gender equality.
Yes.
You know, by all means, I come from a family where I have 5 sisters and a little brother.
Yeah.
And all of my sisters tell me what to do, right? And then you add my mother, who tells me what to do, right? And they're all very strong women. And I know you have sisters and yourself, and you've all been successful. Because all the women I know are strong women.
Yes.
And they seem to be doing very well. They don't just have one job, they have multiple jobs, multiple businesses. So sometimes when I read about this issue of gender equality, it confuses me a little bit. Because I say, is there a gender inequality issue in Uganda?
Absolutely.
You think so?
Absolutely.
Now we're going to cut to commercial, and when we come back, we're going to talk a bit more about that. Also joining us on the show will be engineer Martin Mukama, one of the co-founders of PRISM. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. We're still here with Crystal, one of the entertainment icons in Uganda. And joining us on the show is engineer Martin Mukama of PRISM. Thank you for coming, Martin.
You're most welcome, Cedric.
I know you came from a long way from Mbarara to join us.
Yes.
Now, first of all, you know, I know you told me what PRISM stands for, but I don't want to run the risk of trying to interpret it. So what is PRISM?
So PRISMS is protecting infants remotely by SMS. It is a mobile application that empowers frontline health workers to
you know, on these shows, when you say frontline, you know, it sounds like a war. So when you say frontline, what do you mean?
But in a way, it's like the battlefield because you're there with mothers, right?
Yeah, but what I'm trying to say is, what are frontline workers?
So frontline health workers are like midwives and nurses.
Yes, okay.
And birth attendants that really manage the sick newborns immediately after birth.
Okay.
Yeah. So we know that a sick newborn is supposed to be cared for by a pediatrician.
Right.
But the pediatricians in Uganda are really very limited. So for county level health facilities, there are actually no pediatricians at all to manage the sick newborns. So we developed PRISMS to empower the midwives and nurses that work in those county level health facilities that actually manage the magnitude of the cases of the sick newborns to effectively manage the sick newborns.
So this ultimately reduces infant mortality.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, we're going to get back to you in a few minutes, but me and Crystal, or Crystal and I rather, we're having a conversation about gender equality. It's okay, you can join in, but be careful, right? Because this topic here, you know, is a serious topic. So, Crystal, tell me, you know, of course you've heard Engineer Martin and what he's trying to do.
What you're doing.
Of course we're going to get into it. But we're talking about gender equality.
Yes. And you were saying you've been surrounded by
I've been surrounded by a lot of strong women,
yes.
No, I do, I understand. I think in some countries, especially in different regions of the world. I'm not going to get into which countries they are because I'm not trying to start a war. But I do see some countries there is blatant gender inequality. But Uganda, for example, you know, we were the first country in Africa to have a female vice president, Dr. Speciosa Kazibwe. I know that Parliament is, I think it's almost, would it be 50-50?
Well, Uganda's definitely made
Yes.
great strides.
But what's your take on gender equality in Uganda?
Well, gender equality is also equal opportunity. I try to look at it as equal opportunity as well.
Right.
And sometimes just by being a woman, you lose out on some opportunities, or you put aside simply because you're a woman and they feel, for example, as women, we're expected to have children,
Yes.
raise them, be there full time,
Yes.
but also work and have careers where we apply ourselves full time.
Right.
I'm so thankful that you didn't ask me a question today, which is how do you balance life as a family woman and working woman as well? Men are never asked that question. Why aren't guys ever asked, you know, work-life balance? How do you do it?
Yes.
Because simply when a child is sick, it is assumed, even if both parents are working, the moment a child is sick, it is always the mother. Okay,
Mommy.
not always, but in most cases,
Yes.
the mother will have to take time off to attend to any personal issues. And then sometimes, I mean, one of the big issues right now for women is negotiating for a salary increment. A man will just walk in and say, I'm not happy with this. I feel I should get a salary increment for this reason, A, B, C, D. A woman, they'll say, but you have a husband in some cases.
Really?
Yeah, there are many women who've been told, but you have a husband. Why are you asking for more money?
But we have a lot of powerful women in Uganda, you know, who are heading up industry.
Not to take away from that, but the reality is, even in terms of salary structure, two
Yes.
people, same organization, same responsibilities, doing the exact same thing. The woman, in most cases, earns half what the man is earning.
Really?
Yes, that is the reality.
Martin, do you pay the ladies in your organization half what the men get?
No,
They're equal?
they're equal.
Equal.
Yes. Actually, some at the same salary scale.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. So, you know, Crystal
That's
and
how
your-
it should be.
Yes,
That's how it should be.
how it should be, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, another thing, you know, tourism in Uganda. There's a big push. You know, we're talking Uganda tourism, we're talking tourism Uganda, we're talking Tulambule. Is it Tulambule? Were you on one of those?
No, I wasn't.
No. I know some of our friends who are on these campaigns. And
Well, on my own, I've done my own.
yes,
trips.
you've done your own thing. Now, my interpretation of it is that it seems to spike and dip. The message is not consistent.
Yes.
I saw the new head of CEO of the tourism board yesterday in the papers talking about a lack of funding to fund initiatives. How do we promote Uganda? You know, because I feel that sometimes we are searching for the recognition as opposed to actually promoting what's right here. I'll give you an example. Joshua Cheptegei, the runner, you know him? He is Commonwealth champion and world champion. But they don't use him.
That is true. That is true.
Right.
I think the biggest issue is, like you said, the rise and the falls.
Yes.
We need to, number one, focus on what is beautiful and unique.
Yes.
And the sad thing about us as Ugandans is what is so beautiful about our country
Yes.
is so everyday to us.
Yes.
So because we're surrounded by, you know, so many beautiful things, we don't actually recognize it. But then also we use the platforms that are available to us to sell Uganda to the world, because it's twofold.
Yes.
We want to sell Uganda to the rest of the world, but we want to get Ugandans interested in traveling, because I can't get over people who are in Kampala and they've never been to Western Uganda.
Or to see the gorillas.
Yeah, the furthest they've gone is Ginger, and they feel like they have traveled. And it's also the perception of how travel isn't only something for people who have a lot of money. Now, when you look at other East African countries, a lot of the places, destinations, have East African rates. You find that in the hotels, in the lodges. Not so much here in Uganda. You're Ugandan and they're still going to charge you in dollars. So we need to have all these different incentives to get Ugandans to travel more, to
Yeah.
appreciate it, but also to have, I think, more attention on the budget-friendly options, because people see the luxury accommodation and they're like, but you can actually travel on a budget. You have people who come with backpacks
from all over the world.
All over the world.
Spend $100
and they travel
in a
on a budget. Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, we can do so much more if we know.
I was reading about PRISM. You know, you sent me some information. And I think this is one of the ways in which we can promote Uganda. Look at, this is an innovation that was created in Uganda, not in Kampala, in Mbarara. Now, our innovation and all these innovations we have, we need to use them to promote the country. But anyway, tell us a bit more. Martin, tell me a bit more about yourself and how you guys founded this wonderful innovation, because you're saving lives, you're saving mothers, young mothers, you're saving children. But quite interestingly, you're also creating employment and promoting Uganda. Yes. So tell me a little bit about it.
Okay, so I started my secondary life in Kitabi Seminary.
Yes.
Senior 1.
Yes, you're very lucky you started school in secondary school. Me, I started in primary.
Okay, I chose to start at secondary level.
Well, that's fine. You know. Okay. Hey, maybe you're smart. I mean, you're the ones who make these things. Exactly. So me, I mean, you know, I started in secondary and almost ended in secondary. So it doesn't matter.
So I started schooling at Uganda Matters Primary School in Barara.
Yes.
Then I joined Kitabi Seminary.
Right. So
from Kitabi, I joined St. Augustine's College in Wakiso.
Okay.
Then I joined Barrow University to do computer engineering. And shortly before I finished school, I joined Camtech Uganda, where I'm currently working as an intern. So I did internship for about 2 months. And that's when I met Dr. Data Santolino. He's actually the founder of PRISMS. Okay. So he pitched to me PRISMS, and I had experience in software development. And this is something I thought I would sort of pull off if given the opportunity. So he asked me to be part of the team.
Okay, we're going to be right back, and then we'll talk a bit more about how you became part of the team, and Crystal can give us her view on this too. Okay. We'll be right back.
We are a partnership working together to reduce maternal and neonatal mortality through innovation.
I've been working in the field of newborn improvement for a long time, and what we decided now is, after realizing the challenges of newborn care, over 95% of newborn care is provided in our country by nurses and midwives.
Since 2012, we have developed an innovation ecosystem that has championed the growth of amazing ideas into cross-cutting health innovations to address challenges in Uganda and beyond. To reduce mortality, we developed a synergistic package of peer learning, quality improvement, and PRISMS.
PRISMS is here to solve the major problem of neonatal care. In Uganda, over 90% of all newborns are managed by midwives. These midwives admit these babies, they assess, they make the clinical decisions, and then give the treatment. The challenge is that their ability to make the clinical decisions based on assessment findings is oftentimes suboptimal. So with PRISMS now, they use these clinical assessments, and PRISMS provides them the management guidance so that they can administer the care the baby needs. If we deploy PRISMS and peer learning at scale, I foresee a couple of benefits. One, PRISMS will standardize the quality of newborn assessments countrywide. It will also harmonize the care that the providers will provide to all newborns. And then peer learning will help these providers maintain their critical life-saving skills. Then thirdly, the quality improvement data that PRISMS seamlessly collects and these health workers use to guide their quality improvement is going to be so powerful to guide at a national level what kind of efforts needs to go to improving quality of care for mothers and their newborn babies.
In 2014, the ecosystem gave birth to protecting infants remotely by SMS, PRISMS, after noticing a gap in caring for sick newborns. Our sole purpose was to enable those responsible for caring for sick newborns in health facilities to give the most appropriate care.
And it is like a consultation. You know, midwives are always on duty alone, and like in this center, we only have one doctor who is sometimes doing administration, sometimes away in the meetings, and you find the midwife is the one directly in care of the newborns, and we don't have any special consultation like a pediatrician or a neonatologist, but this phone serves as a consultation. When you admit a newborn and you, after assessing the condition and you input the assessment, the phone immediately brings the feedback.
PRISMS is focused on reducing neonatal mortality by guaranteeing access to specialized care for every sick newborn.
We have noticed that the assessment and management in general of the neonates have been made much easier and quicker, and therefore stopping the delays in managing the newborns.
In 2018, we started studying PRISMS in 14 health centers, and we have trained over 90 midwives in helping babies survive programs.
So the admissions have increased, that is one. And for the neonatal deaths, sincerely speaking, this one, it is true. They have reduced.
The stories from these facilities where PRISMS has been deployed are amazing.
I have evidence, as I've seen in our facility, to believe that this project is very beneficial in facilities of low resource setting. I would therefore strongly recommend that this project is implemented in such kind of facilities without pediatricians. Thank you.
Welcome back to the Cedric Live Show. I'm here with Crystal and one of the founders of PRISM, engineer Martin Mukama. So you're telling me about PRISM.
Yes.
First of all, what does it stand for? You have to keep reminding me.
All right. So PRISM stands for, I'm going to say it slowly so that you get it. So PRISM stands for...
You're going to say it slowly so I can get
yes.
it on my show?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, go on.
So PRISM stands for Protecting Infants Remotely by SMS.
Protecting infants remotely by SMS.
PRISMS.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And before we went to break, we were speaking about how it was founded and who you founded it with.
Yes. So I founded PRISMS with Dr. Deta Santolino, who is the Camtech Uganda country director.
Okay.
He asked me if I could be part of the PRISMS development team.
Right.
He had this idea, this broad idea of empowering frontline health workers to effectively manage the sick newborns, because he had discovered that actually the number of pediatricians are very low in Uganda. They are actually very limited. And at country level, you will not find, country level health facilities, you will not find any pediatrician at all.
I actually thought that we had an oversupply of doctors.
No.
Because remember, one time we were about to export and it was stopped by the ministry or something.
So the specialist doctors are very limited. And the pediatrician is a specialist doctor.
And this is for children.
Yeah, we're supposed to care for the sick newborns, the
Yes.
children, who are between 0 and 28 days. So those ones are very limited.
Okay.
And in facilities where we have really worked, we have not met any specialist pediatrician at those facilities. So most of the newborn care, actually all the newborn care is done by the midwives and the nurses.
Right.
Yeah, but we know that the midwives and nurses are actually less specialized to manage the sick newborns.
Okay.
So the reason we developed PRISMS was to empower those nurses and midwives, whom we call the frontline health workers, to actually effectively manage the sick newborns. And that way, a child very deep in Kamwenje can receive the same care as a child in Kampala who actually has access to a pediatrician. In 2013,
Yes.
we started really doing rapid prototyping. And we had this software architecture that we were using then that was actually not very reliable in a way. Because the way it was working is we had this mobile application that would actually send the inputs from the phone to a server. And that would take about 3 to 5 minutes to get a management plan. But that's the version that we deployed in 2016 when we first did our pilot study in Brisbane Health Center that actually has no pediatricians at all. During the time of deployment,
Yes.
we saw an increase in the number of admissions. Before we deployed PRISMS in that facility, there are actually no admissions because the midwives felt they were not empowered to manage the sick newborns. So what would happen if a parent would bring their sick newborn, they would quickly jump on an ambulance and take them to the nearest referral hospital, which is Mbara Referral Hospital.
Right.
So when
Which is 30 kilometers away.
Which is 30 kilometers away.
Yeah.
So when we deployed PRISMS, we trained them on how they can actually do like full assessment of a sick baby.
This is the nurses and the midwives.
Midwives.
Okay.
Yeah, we trained them on how they can do full assessment of a sick child because that's where we get the inputs to feed into PRISMS. And we also trained them on how to use the tool. So what we saw during our deployment is that there are actually no referrals at all because the midwives actually used PRISMS to manage the sick newborns. And all the sick newborns that were managed through PRISMS actually recovered and were discharged alive.
I don't even know what to say, but that's fantastic.
Yeah, and part of those stories are documented on YouTube. So whoever wants to really look at some of those stories from those midwives, you can go to YouTube and search Protecting Infants Remotely by SMS.
I have a question. Just
I think
a quick
Crystal-
question. You've talked about the newborns from 0 to 28 days.
Yes,
But in many cases, you have premature babies as well. Do you assist with that as well?
yes. So we consider premature babies as part of the newborns.
Okay.
Yeah, so we assist with that as well.
Okay.
And the tool provides also management plans for the premature
Yes,
babies.
because how you manage a premature is very different
Yes.
from a baby full term, right?
Yeah, and what I forgot to say probably is that before we deploy PRISMS, we first train these midwives and nurses in helping babies survive programs. So we train them in helping babies breathe, which is a very important skill.
I think it's important for all of us. Eh?
Yeah,
Not just for babies. Eh?
For the sick new, it's important for the midwives who care for the sick newborns
Yeah.
because they interact with them all the time. We also train them in essential care for every baby, which is another important skill. And we also train them in essential care for small babies, which is part of the prematures that you're talking about.
Okay.
So then after we train them on how to use PRISMS, and that way they are fully empowered to care for the sick baby.
This is a wonderful concept, Crystal. I mean, I don't know. You know,
No, I'm blown
there are
away.
people in this world. You know, I can't even make an egg, but there are people like you who are saving lives, and I suppose for the mothers and the children, because these complications go both ways.
Exactly.
In terms of the infant mortality rate, how much has it dropped with the advent of PRISM?
So we are currently doing an RCT, and what we have seen.
What's an RCT?
So an RCT is a randomized control trial. It's a study of sorts.
Even
So
that
it's
one
a
I don't
research
understand,
study.
but we'll go with it. In RCT, randomized control. Okay, all of them. It's no problem.
Yes, so it's
I
a
get it.
randomized control
Yeah.
trial study, which is a research study.
Yeah.
And in facilities where we've been working, we have seen a reduction compared to facilities where we are not working.
Yes.
Because in facilities where we are working, we have seen a 7.2% mortality rate compared to facilities where we are not working, which stands at about 17 to 25%.
Really?
Yes.
So there's a 10% differential.
Yes.
That's amazing. So to take your idea from prototype stage to a point where the Ministry of ICT, through the National ICT Information Support Program, isn't that what it is? NISP?
National
ICT?
ICT Initiative
You
Support
see, now
Program.
it's your turn too. You see, it's your turn. You're laughing at me because I didn't know how to say PRISM. Now I know, right? So, okay, so how do you take your idea from prototype to consideration by the Ministry of ICT and by extension NISP?
Just like I said, we started the development in 2013,
Right.
and in 2016 we did our first deployment. But during that deployment, what we were testing for is feasibility and acceptability, because we would not do like so many facilities before we know if the tool that we are actually going to deploy in those facilities is feasible and will be accepted by the health workers. So that's what we did in 2016. And the feedback that we got was really amazing for us. It blew us away as well, because we did that study among pediatricians, and we found 100% agreement. And at some point, they would tell us, okay, we forgot something, forgot some aspects of care, and PRISMS actually reminded us. Okay. And that's where PRISMS came in very, very strong. Then at the remote health center where we deployed in Bizwera, the midwives actually loved it.
Yes.
Because they thought they had a tool that they could consult in case they had no ability to care for the sick baby.
Yes.
So we took the feedback that we got from that first study that we did,
Yes.
and we did a few changes to PRISMS,
Yes.
because that's the first version that we ever deployed.
Yes.
So we did a few changes, iterated, and until we reached version 3. And version 3 is what we presented to the Ministry of ICT.
And
Yes. So version 3 was really, really very powerful, because we started generating management plans in 8 seconds compared to 3 seconds.
Also, when you send the message, you get back a message in 8 seconds. When the midwives and nurses send a message to the server,
Yes.
you get back a plan in 8 seconds.
8 seconds only.
Wow.
Yeah. And I remember at MTN Awards in 2017.
Yeah, you won the award.
Yes, for the best health application.
I think it's the best health application I've
Yeah,
ever heard
so-
of myself. So you feel like the Ministry of ICT has been instrumental in trying to assist you in growing your product. But I want to ask something. From a commercial perspective, do you make money?
Yes, we do make money.
You do make money?
Yes.
And that's it, because you need money to make the technology bigger.
Yes.
Are you going to go global?
That's what we are planning.
Yes.
We have open dialogue with the Ministry of Health in Liberia.
Yes.
So we are trying to see if we can have the application deployed there. We're also planning in the next version to
Yes.
have a French version so that we can go to Côte d'Ivoire, because we presented this technology at the Quality of Care meeting in Ethiopia.
Just quick, are you selling shares in this business?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
But you tell me when you're selling shares, then I go and ask someone to lend me some money so I can buy shares in your business.
We can discuss that later.
Okay, we'll discuss that later. But listen, we've run out of time.
Yeah.
But it's been great having you, and I wish you all the best with your technology. And I think it's a wonderful thing, not just for you guys and your partners, but also for Uganda. To see good things, innovations coming out of Uganda, being supported by our government is a great thing, and I'm sure it will go global.
Yes.
Crystal, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I'm honored to have you on the show, and you've been wonderful guests.
Yeah.
And that's it for Cedric Live on this episode.
Live from the capital.
It's your whole city.